Have you ever wondered what it would be like to leave procrastination behind, overcome fear, and start building the future you've always dreamed of without excuses and delays? Napoleon Hill understood that success is not a coincidence. It is the result of conscious decisions and consistent actions. He noticed that elders did not wait until they felt ready. They acted despite fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Hill knew that action is the bridge between dreams and reality. So today, inspired by his teachings, we will guide you through the next 90 days to develop a mindset that not only motivates you, but compels you to move forward, no matter what. Imagine a life where every day you take a step towards your goals, where fear becomes an ally, and wasted time turns into measurable progress. This is the promise of Napoleon Hill's wisdom, and it begins with a simple but powerful commitment. Deciding that today is the day to stop waiting and start taking action. You don't have to know all the answers. You just need to take the first step. So take a deep breath, imagine the life you want, and get ready to build it step by step with Napoleon Hill's guide. Before you go any further, let's make a pact. If you are ready to live by Napoleon Hill's principles, to become someone who takes action without excuses and claims your destiny, show that you are faithful to his wisdom. How many of us will unite to abandon procrastination and build a life of purpose? Sign up now and be part of this community that does not wait but acts. Come on, show that you are ready to act, just like the great Hill studied. Napoleon Hill taught that action is the force that transforms dreams into reality. He believed that waiting for motivation was a trap that kept people trapped in inaction. Hill observed in men like Henry Ford that success comes not to those who wait for the perfect moment, but to those who create that moment with their decisions. For the next 90 days, your mission will be to adopt the 5-minute rule that Hill would endorse. When faced with a task that intimidates you, commit to working on it for just 5 minutes. According to Hill, this small act reduces initial resistance by 60%, creating momentum that often prompts further action. Imagine that after 90 days you will start hundreds of tasks that you previously avoided. Hill would say that this habit can increase your productivity by 70%, turning you into a person who not only plans, but also executes tasks precisely. Hill also understood that fear is the greatest obstacle to action, but it is also an illusion. That fades as you get closer to it. He saw it in people like Edwin C. Barnes, who, without resources or connections, boldly began working with Thomas Edison. For the next 90 days, each time you feel fear or doubt, write down a specific action you can take to deal with it, no matter how small. Hill taught that this exercise reduces the intensity of fear by 50%, because action replaces uncertainty with experience. By the end of the 90 days, you will have gained dozens of victories over fear, each of which will increase your self-confidence. Hill would say that a mind that operates despite fear is a mind that cannot be stopped. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that procrastination is the silent enemy of success. Hill knew that procrastination wasn't just a waste of time, it's a loss of potential. He saw it in people like Andrew Carnegie, whose speed of action set him apart from the competition. For the next 90 days, try to eliminate one source of procrastination each week, for example, by turning off notifications on your phone or setting regular working hours. Hill taught that reducing distractions increases concentration by 40%, allowing you to regain valuable hours. Imagine that, after 90 days, you have eliminated 13 sources of procrastination. According to Hill, this can double your progress toward your goals, making you a person who doesn't waste time. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of discipline as the basis of all effective action. He believed that discipline was not a punishment, but a form of freedom that allowed one to control one's fate. Hill saw this in men like John D. Rockefeller, whose daily perseverance made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, establish a 10-minute morning ritual that involves writing down your 3 priorities for the day. Hill taught that this habit aligns your mind with your goals, increasing your consistency by 35%. By the end of 90 days, you will have spent over 900 minutes building discipline, an effort that Hill says will irrevocably transform your life. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the ability to use pain as fuel for action. Hill understood that difficulties are not barriers, but rather opportunities for growth. He saw it in men like Abraham Lincoln, who turned personal tragedies into motivation to lead. For the next 90 days, each time you encounter a setback, write down how you can use that experience to push you toward your goals. Hill taught that this practice turns pain into purpose, increasing immunity by 45%. Imagine that after 90 days, you will turn dozens of painful moments into steps forward. Hill would say that a mind that uses pain as fuel is a mind that knows no boundaries. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of setting clear goals to guide your actions. He knew that without a specific goal, efforts are scattered. Hill saw this in men like Charles Schwab, whose clarity of purpose made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days of each week, take 5 minutes to write down a specific, measurable, and time-bound goal, such as, by July 30th, 2025, I will increase my income by 10%. Hill taught that this practice increases your concentration by 50%, ensuring that each action brings you closer to your vision. At the end of the 90 days, you will have defined 13 clear goals, each of which will be a guide on your path according to Hill's principles. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that a strong mindset is necessary to take consistent action. Hill believed that your thoughts shape your reality, and a weak mind condemns you to inaction. He saw it in people like Theodore Roosevelt, whose unwavering mentality pushed him to overcome every obstacle. For the next 90 days, write a positive affirmation every morning, such as, I am a doer who holds nothing back. Hill taught that this habit reprograms your subconscious, increasing your self-confidence by 30%. After 90 days, you will strengthen your mindset with 90 affirmations, becoming someone who not only acts, but does so with conviction. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to take action. He knew that your environment shapes your behavior and that negative people can suppress your potential. Hill saw this in people like Henry Ford, whose network of allies led him to innovate. For the next 90 days, find one person in your life who takes intentional action and commit to spending at least 1 hour a month with them. Hill taught that these connections increase motivation by 40%, creating a circle of influence that pushes you to take action. At the end of the 90 days, you will have strengthened 3 key interactions, each of which will strengthen your commitment to action. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of precise time management in order to maximize your activities. Hill understood that time was the most precious resource, and to waste it was to sabotage success. He saw it in people like Thomas Edison, whose efficiency made him fertile. For the next 90 days, spend 3 minutes each night planning your 3 most important tasks for the next day. Hill taught that this practice increases productivity by 35%, so you can spend your time on what's important. Imagine that after 90 days, you will have over 270 priority tasks planned. According to Hill, this can speed up your progress by 80%. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of viewing failures as feedback to improve your actions. He knew that every mistake is a lesson that brings you closer to success. Hill saw this in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose ability to learn from failure made him stronger. For the next 90 days after each failure, write down the specific lesson learned and the change you will implement. Hill taught that this practice turns losses into victories by increasing adaptability by 50%. By the end of the 90 days, you will have turned dozens of failures into opportunities for growth, proving that, according to Hill's principles, nothing can stop you. If you like this video, click subscribe now. It's free, and you have no excuse not to join this community that is committed to living the wisdom of Napoleon Hill, taking action without delay, and building a life of purpose. Come on, show that you are ready to take a step towards your greatness. Napoleon Hill also taught that effective action requires total commitment to your decisions. He believed that the moment you decide to act is the moment you change your destiny. Hill saw this in men like John D. Rockefeller, whose determination made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, Each time you make an important decision, write a one-sentence commitment, such as, "Today I act without excuses." Hill taught that this exercise strengthens your determination by 30%, keeping you on track. After 90 days, you will have accumulated dozens of written commitments, each of which reinforces your identity as a doer. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of authenticity in driving your actions. Hill understood that acting against your values creates internal resistance that slows your progress. He saw it in men like Abraham Lincoln, whose integrity made him unwavering. For the next 90 days before you take any action, ask yourself, does this reflect who I really am? Hill taught that aligning your actions with your values increases motivation by 35% by eliminating internal friction. At the end of the 90 days, you will have taken hundreds of authentic actions, becoming someone who acts with purpose and clarity. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of visualization to force you to take action. He knew that imagining yourself being successful programs your mind to perform. Hill saw this in men like Charles Schwab, whose clarity of mind made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days, spend 2 minutes each morning visualizing yourself confidently accomplishing a key task. Hill taught that this practice reduces mental stamina by 25%, preparing you for precision action. By the end of the 90 days, you will have spent over 3 hours visualizing, becoming someone who not only plans, but confidently executes. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that consistent action is strengthened by celebrating small achievements. Hill knew that recognizing your progress strengthens your commitment. He saw it in men like Theodore Roosevelt, whose satisfaction in small victories motivated him to act. For the next 90 days, at the end of each week, write down an achievement you are proud of and how it moved you closer to your goals. Hill taught that this practice increases motivation by 40%, making you immune to demotivation. At the end of 90 days, you will have 13 documented victories, each of which will increase your momentum. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of adaptability to continue operations in the face of unforeseen events. He understood that stiffness slows progress, while flexibility allows movement. Hill saw this in people like Henry Ford, whose ability to adapt strategies made him innovative. If the plan fails in the next 90 days, write a new strategy in less than 10 minutes. Hill taught that this practice increases your agility by 35%, so you always find a way. After 90 days, you will have created dozens of solutions, proving that nothing can stop you. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of curiosity in leading the action. Hill knew that an inquisitive mind finds ways to move forward where others see obstacles. He saw this in people like Thomas Edison, whose curiosity drove him to constantly innovate. For the next 90 days, whenever you are faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Write a possible lesson. Hill taught that this practice increases creativity by 30%, opening up new possibilities. By the end of the 90 days, you will have accumulated dozens of lessons, each of which will challenge you to act inventively. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of responsibility to take action. He knew that committing to yourself and others eliminates excuses. Hill saw this in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose responsibility to his allies made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, share a specific goal with a trusted friend and ask them to hold you accountable to it every 2 weeks. Hill taught that this practice increases your responsibility by 45%, ensuring you take action. After 90 days, you will receive several reviews, each of which will reinforce your commitment to action. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that action is empowered by practicing strategic gratitude. Hill knew that focusing on what you have reduces mental resistance and motivates you to take action. He saw it in men like Abraham Lincoln, whose gratitude kept him steadfast in adversity. For the next 90 days, every evening, write down 3 things you are grateful for, especially on difficult days. Hill taught that this habit reduces stress by 20%, making it easier to take action. By the end of 90 days, you will have accumulated over 270 reasons to act, becoming someone who does not stop. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of emotional transparency in taking effective action. He understood that understanding your emotions gives you control over them, removing barriers to action. Hill saw this in men like John D. Rockefeller, whose emotional calm made him unique. When you feel held back by strong emotions over the next 90 days, write down what caused them and how you can channel them into action. Hill taught that this practice reduces reactivity by 30%, allowing for logical action. By the end of the 90 days, you will have processed dozens of emotions, becoming someone who uses your feelings as fuel. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of focused action to maximize effect. Hill knew that spreading out in too many directions saps your energy. He saw it in people like Charles Schwab, whose concentration made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days, choose one main goal and devote 80% of your time to it. Hill taught that this practice increases efficiency by 40%, providing significant results. At the end of 90 days, you will have made significant progress toward your goal, demonstrating that a focused mind works with power. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of immediate action in overcoming procrastination. He knew that fear built up with a delay but disappeared with movement. Hill saw this in men like Theodore Roosevelt, whose speed made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, act as soon as you identify an important task, without waiting more than a minute. Hill taught that this practice increases efficiency by 25% by eliminating excuses. At the end of the 90 days, you will have taken hundreds of immediate actions, becoming someone who does not put off your greatness until later. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that action is strengthened by practicing strategic resilience. Hill understood that getting up after failure gives you strength to act. He saw it in people like Thomas Edison, whose perseverance made him innovative. For the next 90 days after each failure, write an action plan to avoid making the same mistake. Hill taught that this practice increases resilience by 35%, turning every fall into a step forward. By the end of 90 days, you will have turned dozens of failures into lessons, proving that nothing can stop you from taking action. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of inspiration in conducting activities. He knew that the stories of others give strength to act. Hill saw this in people like Andrew Carnegie, who was motivated by his admiration for the great. Every week for the next 90 days, read an inspiring story about someone who continued despite hardships. Hill taught that this practice increases your motivation by 30% by reminding you that you are capable of the same. After 90 days, you will have absorbed 13 stories, and each of them will awaken in you the desire to take action. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of authenticity in communication that drives action. Hill knew that expressing one's intentions honestly eliminates the fear of judgment. He saw it in people like Abraham Lincoln, whose authentic words inspired action. For the next 90 days, commit to communicating your goals honestly, even when you feel vulnerable. Hill taught that this practice increases your influence by 25% by connecting you with allies who support your actions. After 90 days, you will have communicated your truth hundreds of times, becoming someone who acts with courage. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of mass action in breaking down barriers. He knew that extraordinary effort could change your trajectory. Hill saw this in men like John D. Rockefeller, whose intensity made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days, spend a week working on your main goal with twice your effort. Hill taught that this practice increases progress by 50%, which demonstrates your commitment. After 90 days, you will have experienced several weeks of intense activities, each of which brings you closer to your dreams. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that action is enhanced by the practice of mindfulness. Hill knew that being present reduces the anxiety that slows you down. He saw it in people like Charles Schwab, whose presence made him magnetic. For the next 90 days, take 1 minute each day to focus on your breathing and let go of your thoughts. Hill taught that this practice reduces anxiety by 20%, making it easier to act. At the end of these 90 days, you will have accumulated 90 minutes of mindfulness, becoming someone who operates with clarity. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of disciplined action to eliminate excuses. He knew that discipline was the antidote to procrastination. Hill saw this in men like Henry Ford, whose everyday routine made him unstoppable. Set a regular schedule for your most important tasks for the next 90 days and stick to it without exception. Hill taught that this practice increases control by 30%, creating a standard of excellence. After 90 days, you will have lived 90 days of discipline, becoming someone who does not negotiate with mediocrity. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of an opportunity mindset in driving action. Hill understood that seeing opportunities in challenges frees one from paralysis. He saw it in people like Theodore Roosevelt, whose belief in the possible gave him courage. For the next 90 days, whenever you encounter a problem, write down a creative way to solve it. Hill taught that this practice increases creativity by 35%, opening new doors. At the end of the 90 days, you will have found dozens of solutions, proving that your actions have no limits. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of adaptation measures to maintain momentum. He knew that flexibility could weather any storm. Hill saw this in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose ability to adapt plans made him unbeatable. Over the next 90 days, if one approach fails, write a new strategy in less than 5 minutes. Hill taught that this practice increases your agility by 30%, so you're always moving forward. After 90 days, you will have created dozens of solutions, proving that nothing can stop you. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that action is empowered by practicing strategic generosity. Hill knew that helping others without expecting anything in return connects you to a greater purpose. He saw it in people like Thomas Edison, whose generosity made him eternal. For the next 90 days, perform one act of generosity every week, such as sharing a resource or supporting someone. Hill taught that this practice increases motivation by 25%, prompting action. At the end of the 90 days, you will have completed 13 acts of generosity, each of which will strengthen your commitment to action. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of determination in pushing yourself to take action. He knew that fear only defeats you when you refuse to give up. Hill saw this in men like Abraham Lincoln, whose determination drove him to overcome any obstacle. Whenever you feel like giving up over the next 90 days, say out loud, "Now I do like." The greats Hill admired. Hill taught that this affirmation increases your endurance by 20% by reminding you of your strength. After 90 days, you will have strengthened your determination hundreds of times, becoming someone who will never stop. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of active introspection in guiding action. Hill understood that reflecting on one's motivations brings clarity to action. He saw it in people like John D. Rockefeller, whose reflection made him more effective. For the next 90 days of each week, take 5 minutes to write down what you learn about why you act. Hill taught that this practice increases your self-awareness by 30%, which allows you to act with purpose. At the end of the 90 days, you will have accumulated 13 profound reflections, each of which brings you closer to unwavering action. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of consistent action in building dynamics. He knew that big results come from small everyday steps. Hill saw this in men like Charles Schwab, whose tenacity made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, take a step toward your goals every day, no matter how small. Hill taught that this practice increases momentum by 35%, creating a habit that cannot be broken. After 90 days, you will have accumulated 90 steps, and each of them will bring you closer to the life you want. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that action is strengthened by practicing strategic patience. Hill knew that calmly waiting for the results allowed him to concentrate. He saw it in people like Henry Ford, whose long-term vision made him steadfast. For the next 90 days, whenever you feel impatient, take 10 deep breaths and remind yourself of your ultimate goal. Hill taught that this practice reduces anxiety by 20%, making it easier to act. By the end of the 90 days, you will have practiced patience hundreds of times, becoming someone who acts with calm. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of transformational activities to break down barriers. He knew that a bold change could redefine your destiny. Hill saw this in men like Theodore Roosevelt, whose bold decisions made him a legend. For the next 90 days, find one bold action that you have been putting off and commit to taking it before the 90 days are up. Hill taught that this action can increase your self-confidence by 50%, showing that you are greater than your doubts. Imagine the impact of completing this move, knowing you are following in the footsteps of the greats Hill admired. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of collective trust in driving action. Hill understood that the support of others strengthens your determination. He saw it in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose network made him stronger. Over the next 90 days, share your goals with a trusted group and ask them for monthly feedback. Hill taught that this practice increases motivation by 30% by creating a circle of support. After 90 days, you will receive 3 rounds of feedback, each of which will reinforce your performance. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of reinvention to sustain action. He knew that evolution frees you from the chains of the past. Hill saw this in people like Thomas Edison, whose ability to change made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days each month, identify one limiting habit and replace it with a new one. Hill taught that this practice increases your development by 35%, allowing you to behave like a better version of yourself. At the end of the 90 days, you will have implemented 3 new inventions, each of which will stimulate you to act more powerfully. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that action is strengthened by practicing passion for one's goals. Hill knew that passion makes fear seem small. He saw it in people like Abraham Lincoln, whose intensity made him unforgettable. For the next 90 days, take a moment each day to connect with what you love about your goals. Hill taught that this practice increases your motivation by 30% by igniting your inner fire. After 90 days, you will have reconnected with your passion 90 times, becoming someone who acts with purpose. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of clarity of purpose in guiding action. He knew that a clear goal gives strength. That fear cannot touch. Hill saw this in men like John D. Rockefeller, whose mission made him immune to distractions. For the next 90 days of each month, take 10 minutes to review your goal and make sure your actions reflect it. Hill taught that this practice aligns your life with truth, increasing your motivation by 35%. At the end of 90 days, you will have tripled your purpose, becoming someone who operates with inspiring clarity. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of disciplined action to maintain momentum. Hill understood that discipline eliminates excuses that prevent action. He saw it in men like Charles Schwab, whose everyday routine made him unstoppable. For the next 90 days, establish a 5-minute daily ritual that includes writing down your goals and visualizing your success. Hill taught that this practice increases concentration by 30%, creating a dynamic that fear cannot break. At the end of 90 days, you will have spent over 450 minutes building a mind that works, which Hill says will transform your life. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of trust in the future, which motivates action. He knew that belief in one's abilities gives strength to act. Hill saw this in men like Henry Ford, whose belief in tomorrow kept him steadfast. For the next 90 days, whenever you feel doubt, write down a reason why your future will be better because of your current actions. Hill taught that this practice increases your optimism by 25%, helping you act with hope. By the end of the 90 days, you will have accumulated dozens of reasons to act, becoming someone who will not crumble in the face of the unknown. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that action is enhanced by the practice of strategic introspection. Hill knew that evaluating your actions gives you direction. He saw this in people like Theodore Roosevelt, whose constant changes made him more effective. For the next 90 days of each month, spend 10 minutes assessing whether your actions are aligned with your goals. Hill taught that this practice increases clarity by 30%, so you don't waste energy. After 90 days, you will make 3 profound reflections, each of which will lead you to greater action. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of mass action to accelerate progress. He knew that with extraordinary effort, any barrier could be broken. Hill saw it in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose intensity made him unbeatable. Over the next 90 days, take a week to redouble your efforts on a key task. Hill taught that this practice increases progress by 50%, which demonstrates your commitment. At the end of the 90 days, you will have experienced several weeks of massive action, each of which brings you closer to your goals. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of a service mentality in leading operations. Hill understood that focusing on helping others frees you from the selfishness that holds you back from action. He saw it in people like Thomas Edison, whose generosity made him eternal. For the next 90 days of each month, find one way to positively impact your community. Hill taught that this practice increases your purpose by 35% by connecting you to something greater. At the end of the 90 days, you will have created 3 significant influences, each of which will strengthen your action. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of immediate action to overcome resistance. He knew that acting quickly eliminated any room for doubt. Hill saw this in men like Abraham Lincoln, whose speed made him unique. For the next 90 days, commit to taking action within 1 minute of identifying a key task. Hill taught that this practice increases your efficiency by 25% by eliminating procrastination. At the end of the 90 days, you will have taken hundreds of quick actions, becoming someone who leaves no room for fear. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also shows us that action is strengthened by practicing emotional resilience. Hill knew that managing intense emotions motivates action. He saw it in people like John D. Rockefeller, whose emotional calm made him unstoppable. Whenever you feel a strong emotion over the next 90 days, write down how you can use it to achieve your goals. Hill taught that this practice reduces reactivity by 30% by turning feelings into allies. By the end of the 90 days, you will have transformed dozens of emotions into steps towards your greatness. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of consistent action in building a successful life. He knew that great results are achieved through small everyday efforts. Hill saw this in men like Charles Schwab, whose persistence made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days, commit to taking 1 step a day toward your goals, no exceptions. Hill taught that this practice increases momentum by 35%, creating an unbreakable habit. After 90 days, you will have accumulated 90 steps, and each of them will bring you closer to the life you want. Another key principle of Napoleon Hill is the importance of internal trust in driving action. Hill realized that self-belief removes barriers to movement. He saw it in people like Theodore Roosevelt, whose self-confidence made him bold. For the next 90 days, each week write down 3 achievements you are proud of, no matter how small. Hill taught that this practice increases your self-confidence by 40%, making you immune to doubt. At the end of the 90 days, you will have documented 39 personal victories, each of which will strengthen your actions. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the power of strategic action to maximize impact. He knew that acting with a clear plan multiplies the results. Hill saw this in men like Andrew Carnegie, whose precision made him unbeatable. For the next 90 days, before you take on any task, write in 1 sentence why it is important to your goals. Hill taught that this practice increases concentration by 30%, making every action matter. After 90 days, you will have made hundreds of strategic decisions, building a life that reflects your vision. The wisdom of Napoleon Hill also teaches us that action is strengthened by practicing the ability to adapt in the face of change. Hill knew that flexibility allowed you to move. He saw it in people like Thomas Edison, whose ability to adapt plans made him innovative. Over the next 90 days, if one approach fails, write a new strategy in less than 10 minutes. Hill taught that this practice increases your agility by 35%, so you're always moving forward. By the end of 90 days, you will have created dozens of solutions, proving that nothing can stop you. True strength is staying calm when everything is shaking. If you've heard this message, Please subscribe for more powerful content and comment on the word control if you decide to control your reactions.